Jurassic World Rebirth is going headfirst into the franchise, almost leaving no room for more stories to develop after Dominion, as Rebirth looks set to undo the ending of that movie by bringing dinosaurs back to the brink of extinction in just 5 years. While we wait and learn about how the planet's ecology got so bad in the first place, despite it being proven in canon that they are thriving and can continue to do so, we learn that new species are still popping up in this ever-growing world of dinosaurs. Just in the trailer alone, we learned that there's more than just a Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park 3, more than just this Mosasaurus from Jurassic World, and we also learned that the morality rule that Lockwood, Hammond and Masrani all abided by has now been retconned into existence, as a failed mutant experiment has survived on the island. But is this morality rule actually being retconned, or is it actually just being ignored because it wasn't either of those three that created this creature to begin with? Well, that's what we're set out to try and find out in today's video. If you're looking for somewhere to get hyped for the new Jurassic World movie coming out this summer, then look no further. I've got you covered. With all of the in-depth lore and understanding of this franchise you can ask for, almost anything can be found on this channel. So be sure to subscribe to make sure that your knowledge of this franchise is up to date when going into Jurassic World Rebirth on July 2nd. But for now, let's get back into working out exactly who made the D-Rex in Jurassic World Rebirth. So as I explained at the start of this video, there is something in the canon of Jurassic called the morality rule, and essentially this rule was followed by both Lockwood and Hammond and was then pushed over to Masrani as well. This rule essentially means that if an abomination is ever accidentally made in an attempt to create a dinosaur, then that creature has to be destroyed. That way, this creature doesn't grow up to be an abomination, doesn't look like it's struggling to breathe and survive and all of that type of stuff. It's essentially a more moral aspect of cloning dinosaurs. This rule was very vital for Jurassic Park San Diego, Isla Sorna and Jurassic World, and we even get to see this rule put into action in Camp Cretaceous. When Dr. Wu goes ahead and creates the Scorpius Rex, whilst it was a successful hybrid dinosaur, it was rather erratic and downright ugly, and it was actually ordered by Masrani to be destroyed as well, therefore showing us the very first time the morality rule was put into place. So make sure you understand that before going into this theory. But we've come to the conclusion that it seems as though Rebirth's trailer might actually be lying to us, because taking a look at it, there are actually two feasible possibilities to explain a lot of the questions that we had for this trailer. One of them is a Jurassic Park timeline, and one of them is a Jurassic World timeline. Throughout the trailer, we have undoubtedly noticed many inconsistencies regarding the canon of Jurassic. Where did this island come from? Why is the tech so high standard? Why are there vehicles from the 2010s on this island that were supposed to be abandoned for nearly 50 years now, and how on earth has that D-Rex survived for 50 years? That's just a handful of loads of inconsistencies that we have discovered throughout the trailer. Therefore, many people come to the conclusion that this trailer is indeed lying to us. In my recent theories, which I highly recommend going on to the channel and checking them out, we discussed the possibility of a Jurassic Park timeline and a Jurassic World timeline. So if you want a more in-depth reason as to why these timelines make sense and that the trailer is lying to us, then go ahead and watch those videos, because right now in this video, I'm only going to briefly mention them. But the Jurassic Park timeline, it essentially means that this facility and the island was made before they moved to Isla Sorna. And if we were to believe that this is the truth and that this Rebirth Island was the original facility for all of these dinosaurs being made, then we have to go deep into the canon here. Isla Sorna was leased in the year of 1982, and should the move to Isla Sorna be because of the failed experiments on Rebirth Island, that means that this island was probably abandoned in the early 1980s, maybe even the late 1970s. But coincidentally enough, Dr. Henry Wu became the lead geneticist for InGen between the years of 1982 and 1983, almost exactly the moment when they moved to Isla Sorna. So this got me thinking, these 2 years are exactly the same pretty much. Something fishy must have gone down there. A brand new location and a brand new lead geneticist in the same year? So given that information, I quickly came to the conclusion that this could mean that if InGen did make this thing, made this horrible looking D-Rex, It is obviously a big failure of a dinosaur creation, and is probably the reason why they left the Rebirth Island to go to Isla Sorna in 1982, and that might even be the reason why they hired Dr. Henry Wu to become the lead geneticist for InGen in 1982 as well. After seeing that these dinosaurs don't make sense, they don't look right, InGen needed somebody who could actually work on this project correctly, and they wanted a fresh brand new start and kind of just forget what they just went through. And not only that, but after bringing in Dr. Wu, they probably called in the new morality rule, because there's no documented timeline of when this rule was put into place. So maybe the mere existence of the D-Rex himself would have been the reason for this morality rule to come into existence in 1982, along with Isla Sorna and along with Dr. Wu. So that's just my theory. The first one being that InGen did in fact make this D-Rex, and that D-Rex actually led to the reason why they moved to Sorna, the reason why they hired Dr. Wu, and the reason why the morality rule now exists in the Jurassic timeline. So should they be telling the absolute truth throughout the trailer, and this was the original facility for Jurassic Park, then yes, this does actually make logical sense. But let's get into that Jurassic World timeline. Basically, this theory assumes that after the collapse of Jurassic World in December of 2015, there is little, next to none, information about what InGen was doing after this fall of Jurassic World. We know that Masrani practically went into liquidation and dissolved, but for InGen, there's not too much. So we assume that maybe InGen went into hiding, and that would explain why the island looks relatively new, the lack of overgrowth, and the equipment is also very fresh and brand new as well throughout the trailer. That's because this island was not the original research facility for Jurassic Park. Somebody told Zora Bennett a lie, and that was fed to us in the trailer. In fact, it became a new research facility for the back end of InGen workers who managed to survive the fall of Jurassic World. This would explain a lot of the high-end and brand new shiny equipment shown in the trailer. So once again, we have to think this through. Dr. Henry Wu wasn't actually working for InGen in 2016 nor onwards. So whoever was working for InGen at this time were pretty much on their own. They didn't have their lead geneticist who worked on all of the dinosaurs for Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. And should that mean that the mutant was made between this era of Jurassic World, that means that the mutant is again not a Dr. Wu creation, and that would explain why it looks so ugly and horrific. They tried to replicate his work, but simply just failed. And we know for a fact that Dr. Wu wouldn't accept something like this, and of course would have killed off the dinosaur, because in Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous Season 1, we get to see his visible concern when Bumpy the Ankylosaurus was born with asymmetrical head bumps, hence where she gets her name from. He was surprised and said, "Asymmetry in my lab?" And he inspected the dinosaur and he was really shocked. He even went back to his personal quarters to presumably work out what happened. So he is very much against imperfections in his dinosaurs, and of course would not have allowed this creature to survive. So theory 1 says that InGen was the one who created this mutant Rex, but this is either before Dr. Wu or after Dr. Wu. We know that Dr. Wu would have not been involved in this whatsoever. But theory 2 gets a little bit more interesting. It's a little bit shorter because this is based off some fresh brand new information. So we know that Martin Krebs' character is working for a company called Parkogenics. And Parkogenics are essentially a pharmaceutical engineering company. They need the DNA of the 3 biggest dinosaurs to help fight off a heart disease that's being spread across the globe right now. And this theory that we discussed recently with the brand new images basically assumes that Parkogenics found this island sometime in their timeline, and they went ahead and built on top of this abandoned InGen facility. And we also assume that InGen might have built this facility but never actually started there, because the location wise just makes no sense for the Jurassic Park San Diego park. It doesn't make any sense for Jurassic Park Isla Nublar, and even at the time Jurassic Park Europe wasn't even a thing. So we presume that Parkogenics found this island and decided to build on the frame that InGen made on this island with their initial attempt to create dinosaurs, and therefore Parkogenics could work on it but not actually have their company logo there. So that way they can work technically under the InGen name if anything goes wrong and frame InGen. So my theory here is that Martin Krebs actually knows about the mutant D-Rex, and he has lied to the rest of the characters about grabbing the DNA from the Titanosaurus, the Quetzalcoatlus and Mosasaurus. He actually wants to go back and get DNA from this horrible creature to explore what they themselves made a couple years ago. I think we've all come to the conclusion that something is very fishy with Martin in the trailer, and we already know how pharmaceutical companies work in this Jurassic World. So overall, whilst it isn't a clear conclusion, it's very obvious that it is either InGen or Parkergenics who has made the D-Rex. InGen has the possibilities in the pre-Jurassic Park era, but they also have possibilities in the post-Jurassic World era. We just know that it doesn't make sense for Dr. Henry Wu to be working on a creature of the sorts. Parkergenics also has the possibility to build on top of an InGen facility that was abandoned on Rebirth Island, and then go ahead and try to replicate by creating these dinosaurs, and ultimately failed by creating the D-Rex. So whilst we may not know exactly what company made this D-Rex to begin with, we do know that it isn't Dr. Wu. His only mess up was pretty much the Scorpius Rex, and even then it looks a lot more like a dinosaur than the D-Rex does itself. So I think it would be very harsh to say that Dr. Wu was behind this. So there we have it. All indications point towards this being an early InGen creation, or maybe even a newly revamped InGen creation, both without Dr. Wu. However, we're also assuming some big twists come into play for this movie, so there's also the possibility that Parkergenics is actually behind all of this, and that they really need the DNA from this creature instead. This way they can learn from their past mistakes and go on to make more successful dinosaurs, especially after the fall of Biosyn in 2022. Who knows? Both are very likely outcomes here. I just still can't believe that this mutant would be nearly 50 years old if it was made in the pre-Jurassic Park era. But I'm sure they'll explain that, somehow, fingers crossed. If you have any further ideas, then let me know in the comments, as I'd be interested to learn your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. But most importantly, make sure you're all staying safe out there, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye. Hello, hi, you. Did you enjoy the video? Just a little reminder to press that like button and also subscribe. I just want to thank my Patreons for this month on screen right here, as giving me that little extra support really does go a long way. But anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day.